I'm gonna show you how to do a winter landscape. This is the first time I painted it. It took about 4 hours. I ended up painting it a second time, and this one took about 2 hours. I'm gonna show you the 2-hour one. You can tell on this one, the ice and the water is a lot smoother than this one. This is not for beginners. This is more intermediate advanced. I've created a free watercolor group on the school app, or you could go to the school website and you can join for free. It will be something that I charge later on, but everyone who joins while it's free, you get to stay in there for free. You'll also find helpful articles and tutorials and other tips. The colors we're gonna use is cad yellow. I'm not gonna use a lot of it, so we'll just get a little bit out there. Cobalt blue, and we will be using a good amount. We'll be generous with the cobalt blue. Prussian blue, halo blue, we're gonna put in between. Imperial purple, sap green. You don't really need a lot of sap green. And then we got titanium white. I highly recommend the M. Graham and Company. It's really, really good white. These are our colors. Let's talk about the game plan. Here's our game plan. We got to protect the lightest parts, which is this mountain in the back right here and these trees right here. We need to protect those. Also in the reflection right here. We're gonna put a wash over this with the cobalt blue. But before we can do that, we need to protect these trees. To do this, we will use Winsor & Newton masking fluid. And this stuff will ruin your brush. I bought this and a brand new like $20-something brush and ruined it the same day by dipping my brand new brush in this stuff. So don't make that mistake. So how do we do this? Well, we're gonna get a little bit of water and some Dawn soap. And we're just gonna put a few drops of Dawn soap right here in the water. Then you're gonna take a brush that is kind of a cheaper brush that you don't care too much about. If it gets ruined, you're not gonna cry about it. So this is like a cheap little plastic brush. And what I'm gonna do is dip it into the soapy area. And what that's gonna do is give it some protection so that when I dip it into the masking fluid, it won't ruin my brush, okay? So I'm just going to get the sketch ready. My wife is so kind, she took the kids for 2 hours, so we're gonna try to knock this out in 2 hours. So here we go. There's the sketch. You can see that it's not a hyper realistic sketch. Let's see if we can zoom in and see. I'm gonna be putting in, like that's the trunk of the tree. We're gonna be putting in all the details with the brush. You can also see it right here. That's the trunks of the tree. So a lot of detail will go in with the brush. All right. So we gotta protect this area right here and this area right here. With our Winsor & Newton masking fluid, we'll open it. Just to warn you, it can smell interesting. So it's smelling interesting right now. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna take this brush that has some soap protecting it. And now we can dip right into this masking fluid and start protecting the lightest areas, which happens to be this mountain right here. Let's not forget the mountain reflection right here. And the tree reflections right there. Okay, and then all these trees right here. I'm gonna protect this area with masking fluid. Now, the good thing about masking fluid, it dries within about 5 minutes. So you're not like waiting the rest of your day to get your painting done. It will start to dry. we go. And some masking fluids are completely clear. And then some masking fluids have a little bit of a tint of color so that you can tell what areas you've covered. So this has like a little bit of tint to it, almost a yellowish tint. So I can tell where I've actually put the masking fluid, and I appreciate that. So I'm not recoating the same area. All right, and as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna go wash this brush so I can use it for masking fluid in the future. If I do not wash this brush quickly, then I will have ruined this brush and I'll have to use a different brush next time. All right. All right, so while that is drying, I'm gonna go wash this brush. Okay, while this is drying, I wanna tell you the next game plan. All right, we're going to do the wet on wet technique. So we're gonna wet the page with water, and then we're going to put a wash. A wash is just a mixture of water and some paint. Now, the wet on wet technique will allow us to have a nice smooth gradient. That's why we do that. We want to have enough of a mixture here that we're not running out and then having to mix another mixture while this is drying. We want to try to knock this out in one go. Now, we got to do both sides of the paper, but we're not going to do both sides at the same time. We're going to do the top half. That's manageable. We can do that. And and then after we do the top half, as that's drying, we'll start doing the bottom half. All right. And on the top, we're going to work from the top down. Wherever you start, the paint is going to be the strongest. And as you work your way down, it's going to get weaker and weaker. And we want that because in our reference, you'll notice that it gets lighter right here by the horizon and gets darker at the top. So that tells us we need to start here, work our way down. On the opposite side, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. And so it will be darker here. And as it goes up, it will get lighter and lighter. So that's our game plan. I can tell some of this is dry, but I still see some globs of wet masking fluid right there. All right, but what we can do is with our flat brush, and this is a, let's see, 1-inch flat brush. I like this because it just covers a lot of area quickly. All right, but I only use this pretty much for wetting the page. Then I'm gonna turn over to this, this brush, which is like a 1/2-inch flat brush to actually put in the color. All right, so I'm gonna get the page wet now, and by the time it's wet, I think we'll be ready to go. All right, so let me just show you. Here's the water, and this is clean water. I'm just gonna start to wet the page. It's at a little bit of a slant, so the water will drip a little bit down. Heads up, never wet your page first and then use masking fluid while it's wet, because it will seep into your paper, and when you try to get it off the page, it will rip your paper. So only use masking fluid on dry paper. All right, that's all wet. Just get a little bit more wet right here. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna just get some water and dab it over here so that we have a good puddle to work with. All right, there's a good puddle of water. And then I'm gonna take the cobalt blue. We're gonna mix it up. Good mixture there. And here we go. Here we go from the top. All right. Take that. Good, good, good. And we're working our way down. What we can do is get a little bit more blue. I want it to be dark enough to make the white mountains really stand out. So I am going to do my best covering a dark enough, oh, and I don't recommend holding your paint like I'm doing right now because the paint is kind of like going all over the place, and that's not great. So what I'm going to do is just put it down here. I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. And so there we go. All right. Working our way down. What we don't want to do is let things dry before we've worked our way down. Notice as I go down, it gets lighter naturally because there's less paint in the brush. We're just going all the way down here. Coming back up here, we'll just put some more in. Going across. I like the streaks. That's actually going to look like clouds, and it will look good. So making our way down. Notice as it is getting from dark to lighter as we come down. There we go. And we could make it a little bit darker there. Let's see if we can. Here we go. Working our way right here. The reason why I wanted it make sure it's a little bit darker is because watercolor dries lighter. So I'd rather just make sure and get it dark enough now. When it dries, it should be about the right color. All right. Okay, now while that is drying, we can actually start to work on this side. Notice some areas are kind of puddled up. We can take some of that with a dry enough brush like that and take it off the page a little bit, and also right here. You can just kind of scoot it around a little bit. You can even bring it down a little bit there. Streaks that are kind of like not just flat across, but kind of angled, I think make it look a little bit more interesting. All right, while that is drying, and there's some bubbles on here that I don't know how it's gonna dry, so I'm gonna get rid of some of those bubbles. There you go. All right, now we're gonna work our way up. All right, here we go. Getting the 1-inch flat brush, and I'm just gonna wet from the bottom up. The masking fluid is dry, so I can just go right over it. taking our 1/2 inch brush, and I just want to show you again what I'm doing. I'm putting more water on here so we have more of a mixture, just like that. I'm going to put it off on the side though, so that it doesn't do what I did last time, which is go all over the place. All right, we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to work our way up. Okay, that's not dark enough, so we're just going to add more and work our way up. What I want to do is get the whole page wet quickly, all wet, and then we'll get the right value. Okay, so let's get the right value now. It's all wet. We're really going to make the bottom part darker. There we go. Beautiful. So cool. As we work our way up, it just gets a little bit lighter and lighter. Okay, so there we go. We're going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and actually start putting in some of the mountains back here. All right, guys, it's dried, and the way you can tell if it's dry is that it shouldn't feel cool. It should feel the same as dry paper feels. If it feels a little colder, it's not dry yet, but this is dry. There is a happy accident here. It almost looks like clouds in the distance right here. I could try to fix it or keep it because I think it looks kind of cool. So I'm gonna just keep it. All right, what we're gonna do is start to work on the this area right here, the lightest areas. We're gonna take off, and you can use your finger and just, you know, scrape it off like that, or you can get an eraser, some kind of gummy eraser, and you can take it off this way too. I'll let you zoom in. And I've been told to go in one direction. It protects your page, apparently. So, going in one direction here. Look at how bright that paper is behind this masking fluid. That's gonna make our trees really pop, like the light is hitting that area so well. Oh, keep going in the same direction. Here we go. And then don't forget the reflections. All right. So, so now we're gonna do the colors of the trees in the back. And so we're gonna get, this is a round brush. I believe it's like a number 2. And we're going to just get it wet and get some of our cadmium yellow. And we're gonna do a little light wash here of the yellow. Not crazy bright yet. Just do a little bit. Now, remember there's a mountain in the back right there. So we don't want to cover the mountain in the back with all yellow. We want to protect some of that by just leaving it completely white. And then down here, this reflection is of the trees. The other reflection is of the white mountains. So we'll just kind of stop right there. All right, that's good for now. We'll come back in and put details on those trees later. What we'll do right now is focus on doing the mountain in the far back. I'm going to get a smaller brush. This is a 00 round, and it's very, very small, so I can have more control over what happens here. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the white. There's a little bit of the white. Okay. So we got white here and a little bit of the imperial purple. A little bit of the white. And just a little bit of the blue. Just a little bit of the blue too, of the cobalt blue. And that's gonna give a distant feel to these mountains. See, it's a pale bluish purple color. And then we'll just come in and put some of that color right back there. Avoid hitting the yellow trees because we want those trees to remain yellow. And we're using the reference not as like we have to do it exactly like it, but as a good kind of guide. We want it to feel like a distant mountain. And as long as we can make it feel like it's a distant mountain, then success. So that's the distant mountain. We'll put a little bit of that purple over here. There, okay, but not a lot. We want to leave some of that white there. Okay, next, we're gonna take this brush again, the 2, and we're gonna get some of this Prussian blue. It's a darker blue. There we go. Get some more water on here. Okay. And then let's go ahead and just get a little bit of this phthalo blue. And we'll just mix the two right here, just a little bit. All right, now, here's where we have to be careful. What we want to do is make sure we don't have too much water on our brush. If there's too much water, we can't control it very much. So we want about this much. So I got rid of some water. Now I can put in this area, and we're gonna do some negative painting, which means we paint around the yellow trees. We don't paint on top of them, we paint around them, just like that. try to be a positive guy, but sometimes you got to do some negative painting. Okay. I can see my faint drawing sketch. And what I'm doing with the brush is notice I'm kind of almost treating it like a pencil. And I'm doing, I'm touching the top, pulling down. And then I'm lifting. So top, down, top, down, top, down, top, down, lift. All right. Now here's a trick to do. Dab your brush and make your bristles frayed. So it doesn't have a pointy tip. And now you can put lots of trees down very quickly. Do you see that? Isn't that awesome? Look at all those trees. We just planted like hundreds of trees within seconds. So I love that little trick. If you have good brushes, then the brushes will, they can handle it. If you have terrible brushes, then you probably can't do that very long. All right, look at all those trees we just put in. All right, looking at our reference, putting in lots of little trees. All right, so the technique is touch, pull down a little bit, lift. Touch, pull down a little bit, and you can get fast at it. You can get really fast. Now, for some trees and bushes in there that are really tiny, you don't even have to pull down. You can just dab like this. I'm just touching, and it's putting in little tiny areas where maybe there's no snow there. Go. Will it need to get darker? Yes, but it's good that we're putting down a layer of this blue, kind of giving us an idea of where we're headed. Look at all those trees. And the areas that we're leaving white is the snow. Now these trees over here are a little bit closer, so I'm pushing a little bit harder and making them a little bit bigger. Just like that. All right. All right, let's go back in and let's just tidy this up. Let's make it as dark as it needs to be. So I'm gonna go back in, go back into this puddle here, get some more of that, get some more of that. So now it's a thicker, it's not so wet, so it's gonna be darker. But we gotta be careful. We want there to be lots of trees put in. So that's why I just dabbed my brush, making sure there's not too much water in there. And now we can put in thousands of trees within seconds. Look at that, that's looking much better. The standing out, making it dark like this is making it stand out from the sky. The sky is kind of getting pushed back now. Whenever it stops having all those little bristles, just pound your piece of paper to get those bristles to separate a little bit. And then bam, you got tons of little details put in immediately. And you don't want every tree to look exactly the same, so twisting your brush every once in a while to create different looking trees and bushes is good. Right now we're doing some negative painting. We're trying not to paint on top of the yellow trees. They're really not yellow trees, it's just that the light is hitting them and so they look yellow. But they're actually the same kind of trees that are everywhere else. That's the powerful thing about light. It like really transforms what it normally looks like. Like boring gray clouds hit by the right light, bam, makes people stop and get out their phones and take photographs. Whereas earlier they weren't taking photographs of like the clouds before they were lit up. It's the power of light, hitting things at the right angle. All right, so you got the idea. My family is going to be back probably in an hour, so we're gonna have to move faster than this, I believe, to get this done in time. All right, so let's get some of this. Now, you can use the side of your brush to put in different textures. Like you can go like this in like the brushes. We're gonna do that in the brush here. These trees are more pointy, so we're not gonna do the side. We want frayed, but we want it pointed. So we want these guys to not look like, we actually want some points so that they look like trees and not bushes. But notice in our reference how dark these trees are right here. And notice as trees go farther and farther back, they get a little bit lighter. Whereas back there, the trees on this mountain are just really light. But as the mountain comes closer, it's gonna get darker and darker. You can put as many trees or not very many trees. It's up to you. You have the reference to look at. You can make it as much as like the reference as you want. Okay, negative painting. I'm painting around the bushes that are right over here. So I'm not painting on, I'm trying to avoid painting the bushes and leave some space to come back in later to get some of those bushes. All right, now what we can do with our frayed little brush is come in and we can even we can put in, hold on, put in a tree here. I like to touch, pull back to put in some of these branches. Touch, pull down like that. And we want some of the color behind it to shine through, so it's not a triangle, it actually appears to have some branches there. We'll do the same thing here. We're just touch, pull, and I like to have the trees angled like this. So here's the top of a tree. I like to have the branches angled like this, and as they get closer and closer to the bottom of the tree, it's like they're heavier, so they don't stand up so high. They actually start to come down more, especially the bigger trees, right? So that's the idea here. We're just putting in some of those branches and angling, paying attention to the angle of the branches. Just doing a little bit. Not doing all of it right now, but you get the idea. Okay, if there's not enough detail, just pound your brush and get more bristles working for you. All right. There we go. And we'll just kind of like have some of this hidden in the back, like its light is starting to fade, or just stop hitting some of these trees right there. All right, we'll come in. Here's some brushes, bushes. Sorry, I don't know why I'm calling them brushes. We have some bushes here, and I'm just dabbing with a very frayed brush. So it's putting in tons of little details very quickly. Here we go, very quickly, very quickly. Right. There we go. Look at that. And I'm kind of going in the direction of like bushes where they aim kind of up like the trees, but out a little bit on the sides. There we go. All right, let's put in another, let's see. We got the tree, the taller tree right here to do. So let's do this tree right here. Look at that. Lots of details very quickly. You can do a lot with a dry brush. Dry brush is a weird term because the brush isn't completely dry. It has water and paint on it, but it's not soaked with a whole bunch of water. So the paint acts like you have more control over it. It's not running like a whole bunch of water just going all over the place uncontrolled. It's easier to control. So I like using dry paint for details like this. There you go. Just taking some of that Prussian blue that's really dark. And your brush is going to help you out. You don't have to make it, let the brush help you out. Like it will decide where some of these branches are. And it will create some unique little branches. All right, now we're gonna put in this tall tree right there. And to do this, we could use the same brush, and if you don't have a brush like this, just use the brush we had and do what we were doing like with these. I happen to have an oil brush. It's a flat brush and it's more stiff. And I just like using this one. It was my grandfather's. And so I'm just getting some of that same dark blue on here. And I'm just gonna start dabbing in the branches. Here is not the stem, what is it? Tree trunk. Now the tree trunk, you can use the other one if you want, just to give yourself a guideline. There it is. Here's another one. All right. Taking some of that Prussian blue and phthalo blue, making it kind of dark. Getting rid of some of the water. And we'll start, let's see, we gotta get rid of some more of that water. Kind of push that water out, let the brush be soaked with the paint. And then we can put in these details quicker. I hope this helps you. This is not an easy one. This is a challenging piece. So if you're struggling, I suggest you try the apple and pear. That's more for beginning, and it can help you get used to how watercolor works, I believe. Okay. Now, the more detailed you want, and the more you want it to look like your reference, you just got to spend more time. Slow down and put in the details slower. Since we got to knock this out in a certain amount of time, I'm going faster. But I'm going to give you guys kind of the idea of how you could knock something out like this. Dabbing away, letting some of the light of the sky come through. Okay, all right. Now, let's go in and do some of those trees that in the light area. Let's go ahead and do some of those. So I'm gonna take that really small brush, the 00. I'm gonna get some of that sap green, some of the sap green right there, and we're just gonna pick some of these trees to turn more green. Just a light wash. Say there's a tree right here. Right. we're just kind of hinting at trees. They're far away, so there's not going to be lots of detail with these trees. Don't worry about getting lots of details in there. We want to save the most amount of details up close. So in this area, we want to save a lot of detail there. Right, but let's go ahead and put some shadows on some of these trees back here. So some of these trees are darker. In the reference, we can see some of those trees being darker, so we'll just put in some of those trees like that. Let's put another dark tree right next to them. Give them a little friend. Another tree back there. Okay. Let's do another one right back here. There we go. Do another one right back here. All right, and let's make this tree dark right here. Okay, yours is gonna, you know, just get inspired by the photo. Don't be enslaved to the photo. Don't think you have to do it exactly. Like right now, I'm just looking at it and I'm free to change things up. What we want is just to give the feel of these trees being hit by sunlight. Okay. Now I'm just kind of letting the dry brush put in some details very quickly. All right. Go. All right. Okay, now we can actually put in, what we'll do is we'll put in some of these bushes right here. And so we'll just get some more of this color here, phthalo blue, Prussian blue. Okay. And what we're gonna do is with a frayed brush, we're gonna do some negative painting. So just touching, pulling, not keeping it on the page the whole time, just little dabs, create lots of little intricate, cool details and designs, like it's the top of the bushes. There we go. Look at that, I'm just kind of dabbing with a frayed brush. It's creating lots of, now at the bottom there's some branches, so we'll just kind of pull a little bit longer to create those branches. And then back to dabbing and creating little tiny leaves. Whenever it's not frayed enough, just pound the paper or your little pad. There you go. And I'm turning the brush a little bit on its side to create some interesting little designs. Okay. All right. Lots of details very quickly doing it this way. If you want to meticulously do every little branch one stroke at a time, you can. But if you got to knock it out before your kids come back, then you kind of have to go faster there. All right. So now we're going to have to start knocking out some of the detail over here. So what we're going to do is start putting in some of the really, really dark areas. So here we go. We're gonna take some Imperial Purple and we're gonna take some Prussian Blue, and that is going to help us have a really dark mixture. Not quite black, it's a rich purple. Very, very rich purple. And we're gonna go into like the darkest area right here. Make sure, yeah. All right, so here we go. Really dark, look at that, be brave. Put it in. Do some negative painting, paint around the snow, right? That's close to us. We're painting around the snowy part right there. We'll just fill this really dark area in. Just like that. Just like that. All right. Then we'll come in with that same brush, start putting in some of these other dark areas. And the more we use the brush, the less paint is in there. So the dark is starting to go fade. Use that to your advantage. So notice where there's some areas that aren't completely dark and put some of those areas in. Okay, good. Since it's not completely dark, I'm just gonna put in some of the ice back here, painting around the snow right there. All right, use the reference as a good suggestion, but do not feel like you have to do it exactly like it. We're trying to create the feel of ice and cold water and reflections, and if you can get the feel of it, then a good job. That's what we are looking for. Notice when the paint is starting to not be as dark, and use that to your advantage. Just go in some of the areas where it's lighter, or just go in and put in kind of like a rough draft of what you're going to do with the darker color. So I've kind of given myself a little rough draft of where I'm going with everything right there. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get the dark part put in. So now I'm coming back in, and now with a brush that is fairly dry, I can, when it's dry, it can be really dark too, and that's good when you want it to be. So with this dry brush, we're just putting in some of the dark areas. Now with the dry brush, I'm able to put in little tiny details real quick. And these are the reflection of that tree right there. Now, there's little ripples because the water is moving a little bit. Okay, I want it frayed more, so I'm just pushing. That way I can get more details quickly with the frayed. I'm going straight down, pulling straight down, and then going straight across. That's a trick with water, because water, it's either straight down or straight across when it comes to like reflections and ripples in water. Thanks to gravity, makes it a little bit easier to do water. So putting in a combination of some brush strokes going sideways and some going straight down. And it can cause a cool ripple effect. Okay. We'll go ahead and do this side. We'll get some more water, mix a little bit more of the Prussian blue and imperial purple, get this really dark color. And then we got to paint around the rock with snow on it. And we're going to paint up to the snow. So this, right now, there's a good amount, like half paint, half water. And that's okay right now with this area, but as we work our way out and we want to create the illusion of trees being reflected and ripples happening, then we actually want the paint the brush to not have so much water in it. We want it to be a little bit more dry. All right. I'm gonna take, while we're at it, that really dark purple and blue, Prussian blue and imperial purple, and go ahead and put the darkest part on this little rock here. Again, we're doing a little bit of negative painting because we're painting around the snow. There we go. And we're putting in the dark, we're just look at the darkest areas in our reference, and we're just gonna try to put in some of those dark areas. This is why this is not for beginners, because you kind of have to trust the process. You're gonna want to do everything right away, but you kind of have to work in slowly and methodically for this one. All right, since we got that dark paint, we'll go ahead and put in this rock with snow on it. Hopefully you guys can learn things just from watching me paint too, because there's sometimes you can learn a lot just by watching someone do it. All right, now we want those ripple effects, so we're gonna come in, dab our brush, and here we go. We're putting in some of those straight lines first, and then we can start putting in some of those horizontal lines. Dab, make your bristles. Make your bristles frayed, just like that. And come in. Try to give that feel of water. Reflecting trees there. Some this way. All right. All right. Now, with our number 2 brush, we're gonna get a little bit of this cobalt blue, maybe a little bit of this phthalo blue. Mix them together a little bit. And we're going to put in, with a dry brush, some of the details here in the snow. And that dry brush is gonna create some really cool effects here. All right, let's say you don't like some of that that you put in, like I don't like all of that I put in. You just clean your brush real good, come back in, wet it, move it around. Just move that around. Dry your brush, come back in, take some of it away. There we go. There. All right, let's get some more of that cobalt and phthalo blue. And what we're gonna do is put in some of the dark areas back here. All right. Letting the dry brush make a lot of decisions for us. Okay. All right, now let's come in and let's put in some of the details on this rock. Just like that. I don't plan on putting in all the little pieces of ice here. I'm just gonna hint at some of it, but I'm not gonna put in all of those ice. We'll put in some of the shading on the ice right there. Some ripples in the water there. All right, let's put in some of the ice texture right there and right here, going in the direction of the snow. There we go. Okay. Okay, and then we want some of this snow to be lighter and stand out. So what we're gonna do is just activate the wash that we put at the very beginning with water. We're gonna activate it and lift. This is a really easy way of putting in texture of snow. That's cool. We'll do it right here too. We'll just make this a little bit lighter here. Put some water on there. Quickly let it soak up some of the white, or some of the paint, so that it looks white right there. There we go. So this is the lifting technique. And it can create some really, really cool effects. So we're letting the water activate, and now we can come back in and lift. All right, I'm gonna take a quick little break and we'll be back. All right, we're back. I can't have too much of a break because my kids will be here soon and I'll have to stop. So But I do suggest, like, if you want to be an artist for the long run, get into some kind of like workout routine, like go on a walk, or, you know, take a break from what you're doing. Take care of your body so that you can do art for as long as you can. I'll often go to the park, do some pull-ups, do some push-ups. And sometimes you get great ideas while you're exercising. You'll come up with some of your best ideas. So look at that, there's some really cool texture going on here with the snow. Let's make this a little bit lighter right here. Let's blend in some of that. There we go. I just want to bring in some of the dark right there, so that the snow covered rock stands out more. So I'm just going to darken this area a little bit. But we can lighten this area. Oops. Oops, I put too much down right there. Look at that. All right, so when that happens, just let it dry and we'll fix it when it's dried. Probably the big difference between amateurs and pros is that the pros have made the mistakes so much that they don't get freaked out when they make a mistake because they know how to fix it. And you decide how much you want it to look like the reference. The more you want it to look like the reference, pay attention to how the colors and how much contrast is going on, like how dark something is. Those blues really make it feel colder. And the yellow in the background can make it feel much warmer. The sunlight is hitting those. Okay, I'm just kind of suggesting that there's ice floating around over here. I'm just dabbing. All right, so let's put in some of the dark areas some more. Let's get some more of this really, really dark paint. And let's start putting in some of these dark areas. So I'm just gonna pick a spot that's pretty dark and start putting that in. With the dry brush, I can create lots of little details very quickly. Going in the direction of the water. It's like the water is flowing down, but then it hits, it does some changes direction. All right, and to help us out a little bit, I'm going to wet this area to get rid of some of the paint. I'm gonna come back in and start seeing snow there. Then we'll get some of this dark color using the dry brush technique, so there's not a lot of water in my brush. And we're gonna hint at the snow being broken up a little bit. Take some of that snow oh. Putting some contrast between the snow right here and the snow behind it. So I'm getting some of that phthalo blue, making it just a little bit more blue right behind there. With the dry brush, I'm able to put in lots of little details quickly, just like that. That dry brush is putting in lots of cool texture of snow, like that. Get a little bit more of this, a little bit more, and we want to soften these edges because they don't just drop off like sharply. There's more of a gradient, gradual drop off. So that's why we're kind of softening the edges there. There's like a sheet of ice right here. So we're getting that, and we're telling the story of the ice with this lighter phthalo blue. ice sheets. Go. All right. Putting in some texture of the ice right here. Dry brush is so good for making all sorts of textures. Okay, let's get some of that really dark color. Put in some more. This. We'll hint at ice being broken up. So we're just kind of dabbing, letting the brush help us make it look like broken pieces of ice in there. And right over here, there's like a series of dark shadows of ice broken up there. So we just got a hint at some of those. We'll put in a little bit of shadow here on the ice, the edge of the ice here. And we'll put in a hint of it right there of the ice coming out there. And the ice coming out there. There you go. Okay, then we'll take some of this dark color right here, Prussian blue, imperial purple, and we'll start putting in some of the bottom of the branches. When in doubt, just do lots of weird looking Ys. A lot of Ys in nature. So. And when I say Ys, I'm talking about the letter Y. They can all look really weird, and yet when you put them on, but it just looks right when you put in a whole bunch of Ys. I learned that from Bob Ross. Try not to make all the Ys look exactly the same. Try to vary those Ys, because in nature you're not gonna see like the exact same branch, and so try to vary your Ys. And you want to use a brush that has a very, you can put in lots of thin strokes. So I'm using the round brush. It's a number 2, very small. You could use the 001 too. There's some areas where you can just make it like more dense, so it will feel like it's more of the center of a bush. Some denser bushes back there. I'm gonna vary this area, make it a little bit different there. There we go. Oh my goodness, I forgot if I had hit record or not. Oh my goodness. I was like, wait a minute. Whew. All right. Well, in the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're gonna have to be done because my family will be back by then. So I am going to just speed up. I've shown you the techniques that I'm using. So there's not, I'm pretty sure I've shown you all the techniques that I'm using on this piece. So here we go. And this is my second time painting this. So one way to speed up the process of getting good at painting is actually painting the same scene more than once. Some people, that might be a little bit too like boring, but if you do want to speed up the process of getting comfortable with watercolors, it's a great idea to do the same painting again, because the first time you paint it, you can feel like a little overwhelmed. You're like, oh man, this is so challenging. And it's like the second time you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad. Third time you're like, I'm starting to get the hang of this. Fourth time, like, I could do this with my eyes shut. So right now with the dry brush, I'm putting in some shadows and some suggestion of like ridges in the snow. Moving the dry brush to create textures very quickly. Lots of dry brushing right here to put in lots of little cool details very quickly. I remember going for the feel of things. They don't have to look exactly like what you see. Going for the feel. And I'm trying to vary things so it looks more interesting. When I say vary, I want there to be some variety to textures, lights, shadows. That's what makes a painting, I think, just really come together. It's that variety, makes it really fun to look at. All right, so we're gonna wet some areas that we're gonna take paint off so that we can create the illusion of snow. Look at that, that's beautiful snow right there. There we go, and then let's get some of this snow here. I'm drying my brush so that I can come back into the wet petals and soak it up. Now, if you have a cheap plastic brush, it doesn't really soak things up. So invest in some good brushes so that you can actually do these techniques. All right, so we're just kind of taking some of the paint off to know where the snow is, like that. Then we're gonna come back in and put in some details with some darker paint. And so I'm gonna take some of that Prussian blue and that purple and make a really dark little mix here. And let's put in some of the dark areas around it. And our brush is kind of dry, which is nice, so it can create some quick little details in the water. If it's too dry, just add a little bit of water. The darks are just as important as the lights. Without the darks, the lights don't shine bright. Everything looks more flat. It's the difficulties in life that make us appreciate the beautiful things that happen in our life. All right, guys, I'm gonna go a little bit faster, all right, but you have the reference. If you want it to look more and more like the reference, just slow down and take your time in each of those areas. I do want to show you a cool little trick. So I'm going to wet this right here with some of this blue, right? And I'm going to get some table salt and put it right there. And that's going to just give some interesting texture. We'll do the same thing right here. Let's put some table salt. All right. All right, all right, all right. The more you do this, the more you kind of like, you'll know when to do these different techniques, and it will be fun. It'll be like, oh, this is where I can use the table salt. This is where I can use the wet on wet. This is where I can use the dry brush. This is where I can use masking fluid. It just takes time getting to know your tools, and then you're able to just have fun with it. Kind of like with language, like once you know it really well, you can have fun creating stories, poems. But with anything, you have to put in the time of learning the basics, and then you can have a lot of fun. So on the edge of the snow, I've noticed like the blue really sells it. So in some of these areas where there's a little bit too much purple, I can go back in with some of the, and it's the phthalo blue right here, the phthalo blue, that just gives that cold feel. There's really ice in this water. There's really a lot of cold water running by, and the snow is really, really cold. Just putting in some blue shadows and textures. And if you can get it to feel like it's snow and it's cold, good job. That's what we want. We want that feeling so that when someone looks at this, they go, oh, that looks cold. I would like to go to the warm area where the sunlight is hitting those trees in the background. All right. Let's take away some of the paint to create the snow effect where light is hitting the snow here. Sometimes what you can do is push some of the paint to where the shadows are. See that? I'm pushing it over to this area, so there's this shadow right here. There we go. Don't be afraid of pushing your brush into the page. This is really good paper, 100% cotton. It can handle it. And if you have a good brush, it can handle you pushing into it. Just creating some variety of values in the snow here. There we go. Creating some interest there. Also, we'll put in some, take some of that cold blue, that phthalo blue, and we'll come back in here and put some shadows. Now this looks almost like a cliff, and I don't really want it to look like a cliff. So I'm gonna just try to blend some of this together to get rid of that cliff feeling right there. This area isn't as prominent. It's not so dark like that. So what I'm gonna do is take some of this paint and with a little bit of dry brush, let there be some variation up here. Take some of this paint and push on the sides to create some texture and interesting dynamics going on like that. Too much water right there, so just gonna spread it out a little bit and then come back in. The dry brush, we can hint at snow coming down like a slope. There we go. Little subtle things. I'm making this a rock that is a little different than the reference. I'm making it actually more snow and a bigger rock than a rock with snow attached to it floating. I'm gonna make it like one big rock. So I'm just wetting it, activating the paint so I can lift and create the illusion of snow being hit by the light there, so it stands out. I also want this to be lighter, so I'm gonna activate it, get it wet right here. And then get that lighter. Now, we do have white paint, and sometimes in cases like this, you can get the white and you can make it even whiter. So we'll do that. We'll get this really, just show you. See that you can do that. I don't actually want it that bright. I don't want to draw that much attention to it, so I'm gonna push this around. Push it around, show it who's boss. Okay. But yeah, you can take some of the white there and come back in and put in some like texture on the snow if you want. You can come back in some of these really dark areas and put in lots of little details and texture like that. Lots of little that looks weird. Turned it into one little piece. Okay, and now that looks weird, so I'm gonna get some purple, some blue, and create some dark contrast here. There we go. Going in the direction of the water. All right, we'll put in some dark areas to make things stand out a little bit back here. Some dark areas. That. Doing some little final touches here. Let's make it really look like there's no snow right there. So it's just water reflecting the tree really nice, like that. And let's do the same thing right here. It's really, really dark water. It's reflecting that tree. There we go. And we'll hint at, there we go, there we go. Okay. Now, before we forget, we got to put in the reflection of, say, this tree over here. I want this even darker. Go. All right. So get some more of this color, purple and Prussian blue. And we don't want too much water on the brush. So I'm going to get rid of some of the water here to finish off this rock right there. right, let's we'll put in some areas that are just really dark. Like that. And then we just leave the tips suggesting ripples in the water, like that. Okay, and then let's get some of the reflection here. So we want to act like there's snow coming out here, so we have to do some negative painting again. That snow right there is breaking up some of the tree. And let's put in another tree right here. Breaking that area up a little bit. Which means we have to put the tree, we have to put another tree right here. Otherwise that reflection doesn't make any sense. So we're putting in another friend. Okay, and then let's put in this tree right here. Okay, and then let's put in some more shadows over here. Really push this darker so that this rock stands out more. And here we don't have to get crazy detailed. We're just suggesting detail without actually creating crazy detail. All right, now we're going to mix the Imperial Purple and this Prussian Blue, get a dark mixture again right here. And we're gonna come in and we're gonna create some let's put in you know what, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's what I'll do is I'll put in some brushes. Oops, dab it. Almost sounded like I swore. Dab it. All right, we're just gonna put in some darker bushes to just separate the tree back there and the foreground right here. Does it look exactly like the reference? No, we're doing our own thing. And you don't have to do this. This is just what I'm choosing to do. I want to create a little bit more depth between those trees and the foreground. So I'm just putting in this darker color like this. And then with a dry brush, dab, I'm gonna do a little bit of negative painting where I'm letting some of the ground just stay white. And then here at the edges, we can hint at little details. Okay. All right, let's see what else. We can put in a little bit more details here. If you guys try this, please post it in the section of your paintings. I would love to see what you guys do, and you're very brave for trying this because this is not an easy one. That is for sure. But this was the #1 requested painting out of the 4 options. You guys wanted this one, so I'm doing this one first, and then the second most requested was the snail. So we're gonna do the snail next. The snail one is, I believe, going to be easier than this one. And I think you guys, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with the snail one. All right, my kids are gonna be here at any moment. So in the meantime, let me just put in as much details as I can. Usually this is the part where you slow down, and the details can take, a lot of time depending on how detailed you want it to be. If you want to soften an area like this, I don't want it to have that harsh line as much. I'm just going to activate it, get it wet. Come back in and push things around a little bit. There we go. Okay. Some of these branches could be a little bit darker, thicker at the base. So I'm going to just do that to a few of them. Okay, this area that is now dry, so we can come back in and fix that up. So now that rock stands out more. That's good. And then we can put in some more shadows there, darker. Let's make this tree just a little bit more interesting back there. Okay. Oh, you know what? We never used, oh yeah, we did use sap green, but just for a little bit. Let's put a little bit of that sap green up here since there's some light hitting up there. Just a hint of sap green right up there, like that. There we go. All right, you know what? I think I might, like our reference, these trees are even darker, and I do like how it looks in the reference. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just get some more of that purple and Prussian blue. Start dabbing away. Lots of little details. Just push in. There we go. So we got some blue in there. So there's like showing like cold. Just break up some of that to create more dynamic. There we go. There we go. All right. With a dry brush, we can hint at some slopes in the snow, maybe a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe that was a bad idea. Just dragging some of the snow down. Go. Maybe we'll do the same over here a little bit. All right. Well, guys, I really hope this helped. And I look forward to doing the snail one with you guys. Here's where the salt was. We're just gonna rub that out. You might not be able to tell, there's some interesting texture going on there. Sometimes putting salt on water like that can create some effects, like almost like it's, you know, ice in the water. Like if you're ever doing a windshield that's full of ice, putting salt on the windshield that you're painting can really make it look like snow has, or ice has formed there. I'm just gonna put in a little bit more dark areas to create some depth here. Thank you guys for your patience too. Like, I meant to get this done like a week and a half ago, but I got sick. I was sick and I was just not able to knock it out quickly. So thank you guys for your patience. Just putting in a little bit more texture. All right, let's say you want this to be softer. Like you don't want that much, just wet it, activate it, blend it in, and bam, you got a soft area of snow again. And you can take some of that tissue, take away. There we go. All right. Well, guys, we could be done. You can always do more on a, you know, when you're doing realism. But I wanted to show you this is a method you can use to knock out a painting that's similar to this. Let me know if this was helpful, and thank you guys for hanging out with me and doing this. I really look forward to seeing if you guys do this. I want to see what you guys do, because I've been impressed with some of your art that you've already posted. Like several of you have done the pear and the apple painting, and it looks so good. You guys did so good on that. I'm like, it's crazy. I showed my wife and a few other people what you guys have done, and they're like, what? So good work, guys. You can put in with dry brush, making it look like there's snow here. Or not snow, but ice in the water. There we go. All right. All right, guys, you're awesome. I will... No, I'm not done. Hold on. Hold on. I'm saying some things I could do here. I'm going to take some of this purple that we mixed up earlier. It's white and the purple. And I actually want to make some of these trees have some purple in them like that. I think it will help. Take some of that white, some of that purple. And what this will do is create some of those trees to just feel like they're farther away, because they're blending in more with the background. And putting in the purple like this just gives some more visual variety. So makes your painting more interesting to look at. The dry brush, I'm just kind of breaking up some of the areas that seem too flat. All right, how does that look from you guys? Okay. Take some of this blue. Take some of this blue and do a little bit more negative painting to really sell that there's lots of trees back here. See that? I'm putting in lots of little tops of trees here. There we go. That helps, I think. There, I think that helps to sell that. And we can make some of the, let's do a little bit of that purple back here more. There. Oh, my kids are home. Just in time. All right, guys. Thank you for everything. You guys are awesome. Look forward to seeing your artwork soon. All right. Bye, guys.